The bids are in, the gavel is dropped. Ladies and gentlemen, here at WineBid, we are finally hammered. That's right. This is our wine podcast dedicated to all things wine value, wine auction, wine retail, and occasionally just some discussion about wine. Of course, as always, I am Jeff McGurn from our WineBid marketing team, and with me is Paul Walker, our wine auction and wine expert. Welcome, Paul.
Wine auction expert. You always say wine expert. I can't call myself a wine expert. So
well,
I'm an expert at drinking wine. So that's
in my opinion, you are. So this, of course, is our episode where we're going to go into Bordeaux and Burgundy. So let's jump right into things. Coming to auction this week, there's a ton of first growth Bordeaux from a myriad of vintages, like all the way back to the 60s. There's just like almost an embarrassment of first growth coming to auction this week.
Yeah. There is like wines we've mentioned, I think, in recent weeks too, just popped back in some obscure stuff. The first thing that came to mind was 87 Haut Blanc, because I was like, oh, well, you'll never be able to replace this. It's impossible to find. And all of a sudden, 2-3 weeks later, it's like, there's another one.
It's like, this never comes into auction. Boom, here it is. Like I said, it's almost an embarrassment, first growth Bordeaux. Whether it's 76 Mouton, 98 Mouton, 04 Mouton, 63 Lafite, 79 Lafite. I mean, you can just 82 Lafite, another 82 Lafite, another 82 Lafite, another 82 Lafite. There's just so much stuff coming to auction. It's a little bit crazy.
That's true. Yeah, no, 87 Haut Blanc. I'm right. We need a photo of it to make sure the color's good. I'm sure it would have passed inspection. It wouldn't have passed inspection, I should say. Color wasn't good, but nope, you're right. All kinds of Lafite. I don't know if there's as much Latour in that's new this week, but
no, there's a bunch of new Latour coming in.
Oh, there is? Okay.
There's at least 4 bottles.
Multiple things. Sorry to interrupt you, Jeff, but I was going to say last one we talked about how it's important to continue checking the auction for items you may be looking for, because as we've discovered just today with things we've picked out over the day, there's been numerous wines added since we were speaking, yes. I think even just like half an hour ago. So yeah, all kinds of things get added to auction, especially on Monday, and they trickle in through the week. Generally speaking, nothing usually after Tuesday or Wednesday, but occasionally there are things added before the weekend.
Occasionally. So let's talk about some interesting stuff coming to auction. This is one that we mention a lot. There is a 3-bottle OWC lot of 2016 Cost, and they're 3 mags.
Oh, mags. I saw that.
Yeah, 3 mags of Cost. And I was like, how often do you see like a box of 3 mags?
Yeah.
A case of 3 mags from a first or second growth producer. But this one, 2016 Cost is an epic Cost with, what is it? I think it's triple 100 points.
Yeah, all kinds of crazy scores for this wine. And still, so 1475 reserve on the 3-pack mags. There's also a 16750 in. I don't think it's new this week, but just for comparison at 220, I don't think that's too much. There have been like historical vintages of Costs that are more than $300. And so I think for the vintage, it's not terribly expensive. I don't think that's really that bad.
No, it comes out to like $245 per 750 milliliter. The fact that you're getting it OWC, the fact that you're getting 3 magnums, which those are going to carry you a lot longer, obviously, and they're going to save you some money on corkage if you use my special corkage trick.
Jeff's corkage scam.
Jeff's corkage, it's a life hack. It's a wine hack.
Okay, that's what we're calling it.
It's a technicality that I have discovered and am spreading it to the world free of charge.
See.
So the other one that I thought was really cool, there's this O2 Dechem 6 liter for $4,900.
Yeah, I did notice that too. Kind of like some interesting standouts of large format, not just, this wine, but also some dry red wines and kind of off vintages, if you pardon that term. I know some people don't like to say there are any off vintages of Dechem because they wouldn't make it if it was a bad vintage. But this is going to be a hell of a lot cheaper than a 6 liter of 01 Dechem. That's all I have to say.
Well, still, look, here's the thing. Okay, it's an off vintage. Like, are you telling me you wouldn't cross the street to have a glass of O2 Dechem? Because
I would. It depends on like the size of the street and how dangerous it is. But yeah, no, I probably.
If there's a 6 liter of Dechem across the street, Paul's like, for free.
But what if there's a 6 liter of O2 Dechem across the street, but then on your side of the street, there's like a half bottle of Reboux Promis for $30, like there is in the current auction from 2001. It's kind of a tough choice, right? Because you're like, wait, 01, and you probably saw this. There's all kinds of crazy Sauternes in this week, but Reboux Promis is kind of one of my favorites. It's always kind of undersung, underappreciated. And there's 01 half bottles Reboux Promis for $30 a piece. I think I would probably stay on my side of the street for $30 for that half bottle of Reboux Promis 01 versus crossing, a very busy street to drink a glass of O2 Dechem. But hey, that's just me.
Would you cross the street to get a free 6 liter of O2 Dechem?
Well, if it was a whole bottle, now that's a good question. Maybe a free 6 liter. Yeah.
I mean, regardless, I think it's super cool to have like a 6 liter of Dechem because it's not like 6 liters of Dechem are like, it's not like they're
falling out of your backseat of your car.
Yeah. It's not like everybody goes like, I can't get rid of these 6 liters of Dechem.
Rolling around in the back of the car, with your 3 liters of Chambertin or something. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, every time I head over to Costco, they just have, an entire rack of Dechem 6 liters.
I wonder if you could bring it back and get it refilled like a growler, for like.
No, this isn't 7-Eleven. It's not a Slurpee. I mean, it would be really cool if they did like, it's free refills on our 6 liters. But
exactly. 6 liter owners only.
6 liter owners only. You just bring it back to Dechem and they,
exactly.
Open up
with the current vintage, Well, actually, Bordeaux Chateau used to do that. They'd top off old bottles with like current vintages to keep them fresh. That's not just like, a myth. It's actually a fact. I don't know if they do that anymore, but that was done in the past. Anyway,
with the advent of
more wines for sale this week.
Moving on to some other large format stuff. I'm glad you mentioned 03 Montrose for
one of our favorites. We always talk about Montrose.
We always talk about Montrose.
Yeah,
this one 195%.
I thought that was I totally agree with you. I thought that was a great deal.
That's a great deal and a really cool bottle for. Well, I guess you can't like open it up for a 20-year-old, this year in the United States. But, maybe you could take them somewhere where it's legal to drink under 21 and
bring it to France. Just bring it to France. You could
take it to France. But 03 Montrose.
Yeah, $7.80 per 3 liter. Needs a picture. So I'll bug Ryan and get a picture up.
Get a picture. Let's talk about, some of those Sauternes, an 01 Riesec for $135. We have 11 of those, 22 years of age. Like you said, it's an epic vintage of Sauternes. There was a 01 Souterrain. This one, we have 11 of them for $80. Again, another amazing 2001, but under $100. Just a ton of amazing Sauternes coming to auction. And while we're talking Sauternes producers, I wanted to mention there was a 2019 Chateau Clemens Asphodele. This one, which
saw that.
Already has 3 bids. We're talking.
I think we talked about. It's so weird. It's like these wines you mentioned. That I never see. All of a sudden they pop up again. And
we're talking about it. Yeah.
It's Asphodel. Yeah, there was a bottle of this in. I don't think it was 19, but it was like a recent vintage. I think I won. I have to look, but I'm pretty sure I won a bottle of this at auction. I did. I picked up a bottle of the 2018 for $35. So 30. I wonder. Oh, 18 for 35. I wonder how much the 19 will go for, because it looks like. I mean, if it's already got multiple bids, on Monday, it's probably going to go for close.
Probably going to go for less. But if I'm not mistaken, this one's 100% Semillon, which I think is really, very cool. Very not common to find in Bordeaux or really anywhere. You don't find a ton of 100% Semillon wine, but I think it's something really, really neat to drink and to talk about.
Hey, I wanted to say on the same sort of note that there's a 17 I wrote down, 17 Guiraud, the G de Guiraud, le G de Guiraud. That's the Bordeaux Blanc sec, the dry white wine.
I saw that
Guiraud makes for $20. I thought that was a pretty good deal. It's something you can find at high-end retailers generally on release, but I think, a couple of years on out, that's drinking really nicely, and it's not expensive. $20 isn't bad.
I did see that. I was actually going to bid on that. Thank you for letting everybody else know to bid against me, Paul.
Well, it's got 7 trackers, so I don't think you'd be the only one. The people are noticing that it's there. Now, if it had 0 trackers, maybe I wouldn't have mentioned it for your sake, but too late.
1983 Chateau Talbot.
I didn't see that.
This one, cool. $95. Great birth year wine for under $100 for someone who's turning 40. There's an 88 Chateau Bali. This one already has a bid on it. 88 Chateau Bali. This one 35. If you know someone who's turning 35 for $55. I mean, it's up to 56 now, but it's a great bottle, good producer.
Yeah. So same neighborhood as Aubryon. And I actually, it's funny. I actually wrote or noted down the 09 Opailly at 175 because I haven't seen too many recent vintages of this stuff. It's pretty rare. And so that's funny. I didn't see the 88 at all, but that's actually a pretty awesome bottle. I would say I doubt we've seen very often or even at all in the last few years. 88 Opailly. That's cool. That's a great deal. And it's, as you can see, it's getting bids. So
yeah, I mean, it's already getting some action. I think, probably would not be surprised if we've got some more. Let's see. The last time
09 was the last, or no, excuse me, 16 was the last time. 2016 was the last time it was an auction.
16 sold for $57, and then 09 it sold for $35. But just cool bottle. 82 Brain Cantenac. This one, I like this producer. I have a bunch of stuff from them. I think they're a nice Bordeaux producer. And obviously 82 is an epic Bordeaux vintage. Question is 115. Do you think that's a decent price for this?
115. No, say the one again. I was looking at
Brain Cantenac.
Oh, Brain Cantenac. Yeah. Let's see. That's not a bad deal. I think, the 82 is in at 115. The 10 is in at 105. So for something, from a fantastic vintage like 82, I don't know how good that wine is still drinking. I'd be curious to see what your sponsors on Cellar Tracker say about it. But, that's funny considering that the 10's at 105 and the 16's at 90. That's a decent deal for an 82, assuming it's still drinking well. That's a hard one to pick. Also, don't forget, 83 was a better vintage in Margaux than 82. So
there are tasting notes from March, January, November, October, and July, all of it saying it's still drinking well.
Huh. Okay.
So
if you want to experience a vintage, sure, that's an inexpensive price to pay for experience.
For an 82.
From a known, from a serious producer. There's all kinds of other stuff you can pay way more for, but yeah.
And then there were only 2 others that I was really looking at in Bordeaux. One was the Chateau Canon, 1998 Chateau Canon La Graffier. This one, 125. I love this producer. And really, what you're looking at is a 98 for realistically $40 to $50 above what you'd pay on release.
Yeah, that's true. That's not a bad price for serious Saint-Emilion wine. I'd pony up for that, no problem. 98 is killer vintage and the right bank too, for especially for certain places. So that's great. Can I tell you about a couple I flagged? Just
please
burn through. 18 Giscourt I thought was kind of interesting because it was $45. I didn't think that was bad for a serious wine from Margaux that didn't break the bank under $50 Bordeaux. I always kind of look for that. 15 Glorias at 45 reserve, 16 Glorias at 50. We talk about Glorias. It's still a good deal.
I saw all those Gloria, Malascott, or Malascott.
Yeah, Saint-Exupéry. Yeah.
Those ones, I feel like they're always just a phenomenal deal. They make great gin, and it's always a good price.
Still kind of unsung and still kind of underappreciated, I feel like, for the quality. Then sort of on the flip side, in the rarity department, there's a bottle of 2011 Le Puy Cuvée Barthélemy, which I don't know, and I don't think I've even ever tasted before, but I always am curious about these kind of small production wines that are not classified in the traditional sense, and they're also not inexpensive. And so I flagged that one, the 11, very curious about this. I kind of want to read about it and see what the deal is. But anyway, interesting. Doesn't come up very often. That's at what is it at 96 right now? So it's got a bid. There's along this kind of the same lines of small production stuff. There's 2003 Maro Jalaya in right now.
I saw that one. I literally noted that one. And I was like, I wonder if he's going to talk about this because it doesn't come along very often.
No, it's another rare Margaux wine, that you don't see. And I think I didn't have a chance to look at other vintages, but I'm sure some of the higher scoring years are quite a bit more expensive than this because it's at $65 reserve and no bids right now. There's a couple of those. We talked about the Sauterne. I think there's like 20 lots of 01 Sauterne new this week. Yeah. So that's really exciting. All price ranges, all different kinds. And then the other thing I thought was kind of interesting it was a 2003 Clos Forte half bottle. The Clos Forte you don't see as that often either. So I was kind of interested in, half bottles Bordeaux is always kind of cool. It's not cheap, $85 for the 03 Clos Forte, but that should be a tasty wine at this point. 20 years old, half bottle, probably ready to go.
Anything else you want to talk about in Bordeaux?
That's all I had for Bordeaux this week, actually.
Let's go to Burgundy.
Okay.
Again, I always like to remind Paul every episode that my birthday is coming up, and there's a bottle of 99 Domaine Romanée-Conti La Tâche. This one you're
too young to drink if your birthday. Actually, I guess you're not if your birthday was 99.
Yeah, no, you're 20, which is my birth year, obviously. So, I think that this would be a great year to pull the trigger, spend that $6,500 and give me this wine. Now, jokingly, we have a bunch
There's two lots of it, actually. Two lots of 99 La Tâche.
There are two, and we've got a bunch of DRC coming to auction. This one is at $6,500. What I thought was really interesting is this last sold for $5,000 in January of 2021. So,
okay.
You're seeing a big tick up. I'm interested to see if we're going to see this sell for $6,500. We're going to see it soften a little bit because I think some of them we've seen continue to rise. Some we've seen these bottles come down a little bit. So I'm curious to see, what do you think is going to happen with this DRC?
I don't know. I want to actually probably take a closer look at recent external hammers just for fun, just to see, where it's gone, because that does kind of seem like, it's a pretty serious price. So, yeah, 99 is such a phenomenal vintage, and these are rather rare. They don't hit the auction too often these days. So that'll be interesting to watch. We'll have to keep an eye on it. If we mention it next week, we will have known that it sold, and we'll find out what for. So, yeah, no, that's a pretty serious bottle. 2 bottles, in fact. I want to say, actually, Jeff, because I don't think I'll have a chance to mention everything, but there's a lot of very sought after and rare Burgundies on the sort of natural wine front, dare I say, in this week. So let's just call them, more along the lines of what are considered to be natural wines, in the sense that I think these producers make a bigger deal out of it than others. I'll just say that for fun. But anyway, there's some Nicolas Faure wines in, and quite a few of them are getting multiple bids. Not surprising. The price ranges are kind of all over the map. There's 17, 18, 19 Louis Saint-Georges Les Herbus. The 18s and 19s are $125, but the 17s $295. So interesting price differential there. There's Coteau Bourguignon et Gamay, which is interesting too, because the 19 is at $240 and the 18 is at $250. Mm-hmm. And it seems like a lot, but I think it's a rare designation. Coteau Bourguignon et Gamay, got to look into that more as well. There's also Alex Corton from the same producer, 18 at $170 and 17 at $130. So those were some pretty wild standouts. There's some white wines from Bernard Bonin. There's Meursault, a bunch of different Meursault, Geneviève Limousin, Cromant de Pré de Manche, Old Vines, and Laitier, and also Pouligny-Mont chez Les Folatiers from Bernard Bonin at quite a bunch of different price ranges, but they are not cheap. Let's see, the 18s are $390 for both the Cromant de Pré de Manche and also the Limousin, and then the 18 Geneviève is at $410. I think it actually has a bid on it. And the 19s at Geneviève is at $390, TA's at $410, and then the Meursault Old Vines 18s at $270. But then the Pouligny Folatier is at $650, so serious stuff there. There's also some pretty serious Grand Cru wines in this week. I don't know if you saw
I did.
Same vintage 99 as the DRC. There's 99 Echezot from our new Magnum. There's two of them at 660. And at the same time, there's our new Von Romane Souchot Magnums at 810. So I'm a little confused at that price differential, just because I would expect the Echezot to go for more, but go figure. That's kind of an interesting one there.
We also saw some, on the sort of less expensive end. 2015 Masson Loire Bourgogne Blanc. This one, we actually had a bunch of Masson Loire Bourgogne Blanc coming in. We've seen people picking those up, I feel like, in recent weeks.
There was some in last week, actually.
There was some in last week, and I believe the week before. 2019, Joseph Drouhin, Bone Claw, de Mouche.
Oh, the Mouche, yeah. There's 05 and 19, which I think is really cool. You can have your choice of great vintages there. The 19's 90, but it needs some time. It needs some time, but it's under $100 for a Premier Cru Mouche. And then there was actually a bunch of JF Meunier, Moussini for 1950. I saw that.
The last one we had was in 2021, and it sold for $13.60. This one's going for $19.50, as I said. And then we've got some Meunier Nuit Saint-Georges Clos de Marchal, a 3-liter bottle in OWC. This one for $1,080. I just thought this was cool to see a 3-liter OWC of some Clos de Marchal.
It's another like La Paulée show-off bottle. That's pretty cool. The Marchal obviously goes for a lot less than the other wines from Meunier, but it's still excellent stuff. The 05's, phenomenal vintage. So that'd be a fun collector wine to crack. It's a big party. There's also 05 Chameau Musigny appellation for $4.90. So the 3 liter is a good deal next to that, but not as sophisticated a wine, I don't think, as even the appellation Chambolle, but still. Oh, on the same token, excuse me, you mentioned Drouhin. There's also Amoureuse I don't know if you saw it, 17 Amoureuse and 20 Amoureuse. 2020, excuse me, the first time 2020 has probably ever been an auction, and that's at $780, which is a crazy price. But hey, that's where things are going, especially in a limited release vintage like 2020. There's actually quite a few 2020s as well. One of our colleagues actually just tasted all the 2020s at La Paulée this past weekend and was mentioning how amazing some of the whites were. And so I noticed there's a few of them in this week. Before I forget, along the natural wine front, Philippe Paquelet, Chameau Musigny Sentier, 14. There are 2 of those for $190. And also Nuit Saint-Georges Chagnon, 17 at $135. 2020, Colin-Moret, Von Romane, also 3 bottles in at 98. That's definitely going to go for over $100.
I saw that. I had that one marked. Did you see? There was a 99 Vincent Jardin Pommard Le Regine. This one, Le Regine. This one, we have 2 of those for $65. Already have bids on them.
That's cheap.
Inexpensive.
Vincent Jardin has never been terribly expensive, but some great wines. Great wine. So
a bunch of Duvessat coming into auction.
Yeah, there is. There's Duvessat Camus. There's the Domaine. There's all kinds of stuff.
All kinds of Duvessat. And then the other one is a 2010 Simone Bizet, Savigny Le Bon, Le Talmet. This one, we have 2, $75. Highly rated 2010 Premier Cru from Beaune.
Yeah, and the Simone Bizet wines are awesome. And that's cool because it's got nice amount of time on it. It's probably quite tasty, even with the 2010, the bracing acidity that those wines had. Interested to see how those are drinking, but that's neat. I always like to find examples like that with, a little bit of time, 13 years for under $100 from a great Beaune producer. Along the same lines, I wanted to point out what the hell, where did they go? There's some Jadot Clos des Ursouls in this week.
A lot of Jadot coming into auction this week.
I don't know why I can't find it because I flagged a bunch of it. But anyway, there's the Ursul, which is I think it's a monopole that Jadot owns. And yeah, it is. It's one of their domain wines. There's 05. but I know for new this week, there's like almost a mini vertical of it available, which is always great to see because they come in once in a while, but not that often. There's a mag of 2010, actually, speaking of 10, for 150, and there's 14, 15, and 18 as well. So, and I think 14, 15, and 18 are all, they're all 70, 75. So not bad.
Not bad. Anything else you want to mention before we wrap things up here?
Yeah, there's some pretty obscure, pretty rare things that I did want to talk about. 2020 Thierry Violo Guimard. There's a Bourgogne Maison Dieu, which seems really inexpensive to me. 26 bottles. So they've got bids, 9 bottles in total, 2 different lots that all have bids. But then there's also Pommard Platière 2020 at 41, and then Pommard Frommier, 11 of those at 90 apiece. So quite a little difference in price there. There's a couple bottles, of 09 Dubreuil Fontaine Corton. There's Corton Bresson 95, and then Perrier at 85. And then let's see. Yeah, there were a couple other things too before I forget. Oh yeah, 99 Bouchard La Romanée, 3 bottles of that, 2 different lots, or all 3 of them are 1,800, 2 different lots. That's pretty wild. Then 08 Arlo Bunmar. I thought that was a decent price, $255 for Bunmar. And then Bachelet, there was a 2010 Bachelet Cotonneau Village at 75. I think if you can find a nice bottle of Bachelet for under $100 these days, that's a value deal. And 2010, again, Claude Dugat Griot Chambertin, one of those in at 950. We don't see too much Griot Chambertin from anybody, much less Claude Dugat. So that was cool. Another 2010 as well was the Fourier Gevrey Chambertin Old Vine, 3 of those at 205. There's some other Fourier wines in too, but that one kind of stuck out to me. And then back to current release, or recent release, I should say, 2020 Nyon Clos La Truffière, Chassagne Montrachet, Les Chaumet Clos La Truffière, 3 at 95, and also Chassagne Montrachet, Les Chenevat, 4 at 80. And I think that about wraps it up for Berg's. Patrice Rion, 15, Chameau Les Fouets. I thought those were actually pretty good deals. Excuse me, I'm not quite done. 2 of those at 86, actually 3, 2 different lots. And yeah, there's a bottle of 95 Groffier Bunmar in for 360, which I didn't think was crazy. And that actually does wrap it up for Burgundy for me.
And that's it for us, folks. With WineBid's finally hammered, this is Jeff McGurn and Paul Walker wishing you happy bidding and cheers.
Cheers.